What's up, motivators? It's Demetrius and Anika here with Clair Em Motivators. And we are back with your weekly dose of motivation, inspiration, and encouragement. If this is your first time watching one of our videos, welcome. We like to do these videos weekly just to offer people some motivation on Mondays, to give you something to talk about, to give you something to watch, and to join us in conversations about things that we don't normally talk about together, but that we're trying to put out there to get everybody to start talking about. And this week, we have a very special guest with us, my friend and my soror, Amber Hamilton Gregg. Hey, Amber.
Hi, how are y'all?
And Amber is joining
Good.
us this week to talk about a very important topic, and that is support among women. So, Amber has a professional organization that she started, and her organization focuses on strengthening relationships between women. And so, I'll let Amber tell you all the name of her organization because I love it so much, how you came up with the name, and what your organization is about.
Okay, well, I'm Amber Hamilton Gregg. As Demetrius introduced me to, I'm a local attorney here in Dallas, where I was born and raised. And as I was growing up, I won't get too much into high school, but to college, I just had a rough time making healthy relationships with women. I had, the same nuclear group of girls that I would hang with. But in high school, I just was challenged with being open and having successful relationships with young girls at that point. Then in college, I kind of turned into this this girl where my experiences from high school definitely traumatized me. So in college, I was like, I'm not taking any crap. If you look at me the wrong way, if I think you've been whispering something about me, I'm going to let you have it. I'm going to put you in your place. And obviously, that wasn't healthy. And so when I got to law school, I definitely had matured a lot by then, had grown a lot, even spiritually. And I knew that I needed to turn the other way. I need to do a total 180 to 360 so that I could foster healthy relationships with women because it's very important. And we'll talk about that later. But when I got to working after law school in the professional world, it just amazed me how just negative and how heavy some of the women were acting towards the other people, just other women. There were some positive things that I saw, a lot of positive, but the negative things that I experienced, and even some of my close friends that I talked to experienced, it really bothered me. And God has spoken to me for a long time and had told me for a while that you need to start something to address this. And so I said, I'm going to do something here locally for professional women where we can just encourage each other, uplift each other, support each other, and just create that healthy space where we can talk about things and be honest about our experiences, but where we can also grow. We can have workshops, we can have events where we feel like we're around women and it's safe. It's safe. And we can connect with each other, and it's a positive thing. And so that's why I created You Can Sit With Us, DFW, in 2016. And since then, we've had a lot of events at Kendra Scott. We've done a lot of New Year's vision board events. We do a lot of community service events. And I can't tell you how many times I've heard just great feedback from the women that come, women that I know and women that I don't know, that just say that they are so grateful to have a program to participate in like this, an organization. And so it just brings me great joy to be able to do that. I love to plan things. I love to organize things, especially when it uplifts other women. And so that's why I'm here.
And we are so happy to have you. The vision that you have for your organization falls right in line with what Nika and I love to do with Clair Em Motivators. One of our mottos is be the change that you wish to see in the world. And so if you identify a problem or if you see something that you may have struggled with or something that you see other people struggle with, you absolutely take it upon yourself to be that change that you want to see. And so for you to start an organization, and the name of the organization, like I said, I love You Can Sit With Us. I always think about the movie Mean Girls when they're like, you can't sit with us. And so it's the organization being created to be a welcoming, open space for women to come together and share our experiences. Because as you're talking, Nanika and I have had this conversation before. I'm thinking like, man, my experience was the same. And so for me, it was much like you said, Amber, when you're younger in high school, especially, you have these experiences with women that really just make you go the other direction, where you could become a mean girl yourself, or you just completely shut off. And I know for me, I just completely shut off. And so I got the reputation for being kind of quiet, and people who know me know that I am not quiet at all. But that was kind of becoming my reputation, because I was just so like, I kept people at arm's length, because you do have, people who like, oh, she thinks she cute, or like, people who feel intimidated by you, or people that you can tell, they kind of get in their feelings when you come around, or some of the stuff that you mentioned. And, as an adult professional woman, luckily I haven't had those experiences, but it's because I changed my mindset, not necessarily because people's behavior changed. And Anika, I know you've had some similar experiences too, right?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And mine was more so not necessarily in high school. I mean, you deal with the
Right.
same.
It's
I'm pretty sure we
expected.
can all give stories about high school.
Mhm.
College, I kind of just stayed with my nuclear set of friends too. But mine was actually in medical school, where I had an experience that, I mean, was enough to change my trajectory of what I do for a living. So it is very much so out there. And for us, to three different women in three different areas, going to three different schools, coming up three different ways, for us to all share that same experience, it speaks volumes to that. It is definitely there. So I commend you too, April, for
Amber.
coming up with an Amber. I'm sorry, Amber. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Amber, not April, for coming up with your organization. That is so cool.
Thank you.
And I think you touched on this a little bit, but why do y'all think strong relationships between women are so important? Amber, you can go first.
I think they're important just because your father, your husband, your boyfriend just can't empower you, and they can't relate to you and connect to you like another woman can.
Right.
They haven't born children.
Right.
They haven't had a period.
Right.
They haven't dealt with emotional ups and downs, and they haven't dealt with the way that women can compete with each other and cut each other down. They can be there to listen, and they can be there to give us advice and to be there for us, but they don't fully understand it because they will never be able to go through that the way that we have. And so when you have another woman that recognizes, because she has been through it too, what you have gone through, she knows how to be there for you in
Right.
that certain way that you need her to be. So she knows how to pray for you. She knows what you need. She knows that it's hard taking care of children and being a wife and going to work and trying to be involved in your community. And then on top of that, going to work and dealing with these things with women at work. That's a lot. That's just something that a man can't relate to. And it may not be even something that you want to talk to your mom about all the time or people in your family. You want somebody that's kind of similarly situated to be able to go to with that and vent to, and they understand and they know how to respond to you with what you need.
Right. Anika, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, kind of like the video that we did last week where, women in kind of leadership positions, and how we were talking, especially in the workplace. It's not many of you, at least in our workplace, it's not
Right.
many of us there in the first place. And so I think that what we coming together, our force and our voice is even stronger than us being opposed, because you have plenty of other people in there who may be looking at you like you might not need to be in this seat in the first place. And so us uplifting each other, our voice gets bigger. And so how we talked before is I want to be in a leadership position, and I'm going to take the women with me, around me, with me as well. And you cannot do that if you all are opposing each other, or you can't even come together yourself. So in the workplace, it's very important for us to kind of have that same voice, because our voice gets bigger.
Right. And I mean, that's exactly what I was going to say. I feel like, which is why I chose the title, As Strong as the Woman Next to Me. I feel like we're only as strong individually as we are collectively. And if we can't unite, and we are facing like serious issues in terms of leadership, in terms of, some women in certain industries still not getting equal pay for the same work. But, if we can't band together to help each other and support each other in dealing with those serious issues, or the stuff like Amber said, which is serious as well, just your regular day to day, being able to relate to somebody who has similar experiences and, you know, just to be able to connect to and unwind with. If we can't get that right, then how are we ever supposed to elevate as a gender? You know, you see people talking about girl power and stuff like that, but you know, on an individual level, you're gossiping, you're talking about people, you're being mean to people. And so for me, that's very hypocritical. Like, you can't say, oh, I'm all about women, women empowerment, and you clap for women that you see out publicly, you go buy Beyonce concert tickets and stuff like that. But then when it comes to the person sitting next to you, you're trying to destroy her or tear her down or being mean to her so much that, you know, she goes to a different school or goes to a different job or changes her career path. That's just not okay. And so we wanted to, you know, be an example for everybody that strong women can be friends, we can support each other, and we can all win. And for me, I have a hard time understanding, like, what's the goal when we are not supporting each other or when we're not being supportive? What's the goal? Or when people who look at it and they feel like you're competing, it's like, what is the prize? What is the end goal? At the end of the day, what are you getting out of? If you are being mean, if you are being nasty, what are you getting out of that? And I have my own opinion about where that comes from. I really do feel like it comes from a place of insecurity. It
Oh
comes
yeah,
from a place
absolutely.
of jealousy. It comes from a place of them not having their, you know, situation in their life together. And so they project that onto other people. And once I understood that and was like, you know, one, and Amber and I talk about this all the time. Everybody is not for everybody, right? I'm not for everybody. And I don't think that any of us are saying that we all need to be best friends and hold hands and sing kumbaya, because it's just not the case. There are going to be women that you're around that you're like, you know what? She's not my favorite person. And that's okay. But I think once you take it to the level that you're actively being mean to someone or you're talking nasty about someone, then you need to look within yourself. I done jumped into the tips part. Y'all got me. You're not even there yet. But I really do think in terms of us talking about why it's important to have strong relationships with women, I think we first have to acknowledge, like, why there's such an issue in the first place. And I really do think that at the heart of it is insecurity and jealousy. Like, I can't think of anything else. I don't know. What do y'all think?
Oh, I definitely think it's that. And I have, when we get to it, I'll tell you about my experience where I know for a fact from one woman that that was the case.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, so after law school and I started working, there was a woman who, one of my colleagues, just was being mean. She just would not speak to me. She would speak to everybody else. And even when we were at an event that was outside of my job, and it was just kind of a winding down. I think it was a Christmas party at one of our colleagues' house. She just would not speak to me. She would always kind of just roll her eyes or make some kind of face every time somebody did speak to me or every time I spoke. And my husband, Devin, he even saw it. And he was like, "What is up with that?" Like, I was like, "No, we've never ever had anything happen." I said, "I don't know. It's just, yes, my presence, whenever I speak, whatever, it just bothers her, and she has to let it be known it bothers her with her face." And so I remember one day, she had vented about on social media, how she was getting some of that, the brunt from women at the job, and she wasn't feeling too empowered by women at the time. And so God told me, because God told me to reach out to her, and I did. And I said, "I know exactly how you feel, because that's how I feel."
Right.
I
Because
said, "I know exactly how you feel, because I have felt like that for maybe 2 or 3 years now." And, she apologized to me. She said, "I am so sorry for being mean to you and rude to you and treating you like that." She said, "Honestly, it was my own insecurity."
Yeah.
that's
That's what
big
she
of
told
her
me.
to own that and to acknowledge that,
Yep.
because
Yep.
sometimes you never get that
That is
acknowledged.
very rare. It
Right.
was very rare. And I told her, "I accept your apology. It's not even something that I'm just gonna hang over you. I knew it was that, right? Because we
Right.
had never even had anything to happen. So little interaction. And so I knew it was that, but for her to acknowledge that it was that was very big.
Oh
And it
yeah.
was it kind of, did give me some sense of relief, and take that burden off my shoulder, like thinking in my head, what did I do? Did I like
Right.
do something I don't realize? Is it a misunderstanding? But no, a lot of times, sometimes it's not a misunderstanding. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it's not. It has nothing to do with you. It does in a way, because you have something that they,
Shouldn't
are
have been.
insecure about. There's
Right.
something about your light or what's going on in your life that they don't have at the moment, or maybe they just don't know how to feel confident about themselves in their situation at the moment, and you exhibit that. But there's nothing you can do about it, but just pray about it and let God handle it.
Right.
And eventually things will come to light.
Right.
Yeah, it often does.
Right.
So,
That's crazy. I haven't,
mhm.
as a professional woman, I haven't experienced that, or maybe I just stopped paying attention. I don't know. But what I have experienced is people telling me that either they were intimidated by me or that they saw other women change their behavior when I came around, and they would say, like, you're intimidating. And for the longest time, that word had a negative connotation to me because I felt like, oh, what am I doing? Like, I'm just being myself. And y'all know me, I will show up to work in a pink tutu if I want to. Um, just because. And so, I'm not doing anything, I'm not thinking about anybody else. I'm just being myself. But when somebody tells you that you just being yourself is intimidating, or you notice that people who are normally not quiet get quiet when you come around, or things like that, it does kind of make you start to alter to be like, okay, well, let me just tone it down. Maybe I shouldn't wear my pink tutu no more, or maybe I should maybe not wear my red lipstick today, because you don't want to make people feel intimidated. And it wasn't until I got older and more mature when I realized that if someone says that you're intimidating, that's saying more about them than it is about you. I'm not intimidating, you are intimidated, which
Right.
means that
Yeah.
you have some issues that you need to work on if my presence alone is making you feel some sort of way about yourself. And so, like I said, I haven't really experienced that as a professional woman. And it may be because I just changed the way that I look at it, change the way I pay. I'm so tired, y'all. I have 2 children, I have a demanding career, and running a business. Like, I just really don't even have the time or space to pay attention to it. I know that it still happens. I actually see other women doing it to other women. And I'll get to this in the tips part, but I used to just kind of shake my head and be like, that sucks. But now I say something.
Good.
Before we get to that, Anika, what about you? What you said you had some experience where you like changed your career. Can you tell us like what they were doing?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So for me, it is a little bit different. I don't think, and maybe like you said, Demetrius, maybe I've never really paid attention to it, but I don't think when I come in it that somebody changes what they're doing or whatever the case may be. And then I'm sometimes oblivious because I'm gonna come in with my smile and my giggle, and if you're gonna want to giggle with me, that's fine. So I haven't quite experienced it in that regard. But for me, it was as a medical student with a resident. So the way that it works in my world is in our third and fourth year of medical school, we actually go now into the hospitals. Your first 2 years is didactic, which is just fancy for you're in a classroom. And then now third and fourth year, you take that what you learned and now you go over to the rotations. So my third year started a little bit different because I had Gianna. So I started third year 3 months after everybody, because I'd had a baby. My rotation, so it was my first rotation, it was an OBGYN. So I went into medical school wanting to be an OBGYN. So I put that rotation first because I wanted to make sure that this is what I'm going to do. That way, if it turns out not to be the case, I still have the rest of the year to figure it out. So I was so stoked. I was stoked. I was excited. I was nervous because, like I say, all my other counterparts had been 3 months into it, and by now have done 1 or 2 rotations, and this is my first one. I'm hormonal because I have a
Just
three
that
month old.
baby.
I had just had a baby. I'm tired because I just had a baby. But it was a resident in our OBGYN rotation. And so the way that the teams work is it's students, it's residents, and then you have your attendants, which are the physicians that oversee everything. So my first rotation is an African American resident. We have said time and time again, you don't see yourself represented a lot of times out in the medical field. So I was too beside myself. I just thought, oh man, it's another. She looks like me. I was the only African American student, and so I just knew that this was going to be a positive experience. Wrong. I was so wrong. That young lady was so mean to me, and I still to this day have no idea. And it would be so blatant that when the attendants would come around, she would turn it on. She would turn on a smile, and she would talk, and and she would include us in the conversation. But the moment they turned away, she would roll her eyes, and as a resident and a student, you are, whether you want to or not, you're put into more of a kind of a mentor role, because that's why they put you all together like that, is so that the level above you can teach the level below you. And that's just how it's set up to be. So this is a person you're looking to kind of help guide you. Hey, some tips, what is it? And like I said, ladies, this is what I wanted to do for a living. But that whole experience, and I'm thinking, what in the world is wrong with her? And at this time, there's a level of hierarchy. So it's not as if I'm going to say something to her. I'm not going to jeopardize my position. So I just kind of sit and tuck it and come, and I think, what in the world is wrong with her? But like I said, to this day, I still don't know why that young lady acted like that. But why I say it made me change my profession is because I had this with her. So I would have to, and like I say, I'm tired, I'm hormonal. I would go in the morning, I have to deal with her and her attitude. And then, like I say, watch her turn it on and off. So I know it's intentional, I know she's doing it intentionally, but I don't know why. But same rotation, I happened to run into one of the girls that I went to high school with. And now I'm thinking, man, we went to high school together. I know her. Same situation, same situation. She would, for whatever reason, on the rotations, you go in and you see the patients all together. But I would walk in, and then we would get ready to walk out. She would snicker, like she would get with the other nurses and they would snicker. And I'm like, but we know each other. I know you. I know your name. You know my name. What is the snickering? Like, what is that about? What is the whispering? What is the deal? And so at that moment, I thought, if this is what the profession is, not the profession, because you can't speak to the whole profession, but if this is what the experience is going to be like, if I'm walking into kind of like a girls club and I'm not included, I can't do this for 4 years. OBGYN residency is for 4 years. And so I can't do this for 4 years. And so if this is what it's going to be, I can't do it.
Right.
And so it was enough for me. Now it wasn't all bad. I have a resident whom I still speak to her to this day, who kind of, like, I always call her my knight in shining armor, because she came in toward the end of that rotation and kind of changed my whole mindset, because she was the complete opposite. So she took me under her wing. And so I left out with a good taste, but it was enough to where I said, let me find out maybe where my other calling is, because I'm not going to be able to do that.
Right. That's horrible. That really is horrible. Especially like you said, when it's like we're always talking about how we're not represented in these spaces and it's us running each other off. And you kind of touched on this too. And I know, Amber, your organization kind of focuses on this specifically, but when it comes to women of color, like, I know it's not just us, right? Mean Girls didn't have a single woman of color in the movie, I don't think. But so it's not just us, but I feel like for me, it hits different with us because there are so few of us in professional spaces. And so it's like, I think a lot of times people may feel like there's only room for one or there's only room for two.
Yeah.
And so if somebody's trying to come be the queen bee, like, we need to make sure that we can take her out. And so if nothing else amongst women of color, I feel like we experience the world in a different way. And who else understands that besides a woman of color doing the same thing as you? And so for me, that's more of a reason to band together. But it seems like in the workspace, it's not really what happens.
No.
Nope.
So what can we do about it, ladies? Like, obviously we're doing this video, we're having the conversation, which I really hope for people who are watching that you sit back and you reflect on yourself. If you are rolling your eyes or snickering or ganging up and, being mean to somebody, you really look within and figure out what is going on with you as to why you feel the need to behave that way. Or if somebody is doing it to you, that you kind of figure out what is going on and what you can do to try to put an end to that situation. Because we should not have people saying like, oh, I don't want to work here anymore. I don't want to be in this profession, or I can't do this anymore because another woman has ran them off. And so for me, I will just say, and I actually just said in terms of the tips, that very thing, that like, if you find yourself disliking another woman, right? If you are the one that's like, I cannot stand her, I got to unfollow her on social media, I got to roll my eyes when she comes by, really ask yourself, what is about that woman is triggering you? Does she have something that you want? Do you think she's pretty? Like, what is the problem? And you really have to sit with yourself and figure it out, because I promise you, it's going to reveal something about you. It's not even about her, because somebody should not be able to get you to act, I want to say out of character, but that might be your character. Nobody should be able to get you to act that way. Um, and then the other one that I have is not participating in it, right? And so I think, Anika, you mentioned this, a group of people getting together and snickering. And I said this earlier, I used to hear that and I would just like walk away, or I just wouldn't say anything. But now I say something, and it's, you know, in a polite way. It doesn't have to be confrontational. You ain't got to try to start a fight. We grown, nobody got time for all that. But you can definitely say like, hey, I have asked somebody, hey, what did you get out of that? Like, you know, she walked by, or what do you think about, what is it about her that's making you feel a certain way? And people usually look stunned. They're usually like, because they're not used to that. They're used to people joining in and participating. Like, she thinks she's cute. Girl, yeah, she thinks she's cute. But if you say that to me, I'm gonna be like, she is cute. I think she's cute. I hope she thinks she's cute. And people, they don't really know how to respond to that. And so that was, you know, that's a big one for me. It's just, don't, if you don't like it, don't participate in it, because I fully believe that the energy that you put out is the energy that you're going to receive. And so you can't sit here and say, well, I don't want people being mean to me, if you're being mean to other people. um, and then just be kind and be supportive, whatever way that looks like in your specific industry. If it's, you know, like Amber, start an organization, or even if it's not having a formal organization, have a girls' night. Do it virtually now. Have people over. Be somebody. I think Amber calls them connectors. Like, be a connector. If you see other women that are doing it, bring them together, and so y'all can do it together. But that's really what I have. What do y'all have in terms of how we as women can make these experiences better?
Well, I think it's everything you said, but also just be the example, right? And a lot of times it requires you to check yourself, because we wouldn't be human, we wouldn't be women if those feelings didn't pop up. You're gonna sometimes be envious of people, whether it's on social media, whether it's somebody at work because they got a promotion, because they, got applauded for doing something that you probably did 6 months ago and nobody ever said anything about.
Right.
I mean, just different things. They have a purse that you like, whatever it is. It's human nature for us as women to feel different types of feelings, but the way that we act on them is what is important.
Right.
So you have to just check yourself. You're going to have those feelings. You're going to have the green eyes sometimes. That's just natural. But how you react to it, you have to practice the habit of checking yourself, saying, okay, I need to really, I'm feeling envious right now. I'm feeling jealous. Why is that? And let me, practice whatever skill set they need to use. Maybe you need to talk to a girlfriend. Maybe you need to talk to your husband, and maybe get some pointers and tips and insight onto how to address that properly without basically exhibiting it on that person, because that's not right and it's not fair.
And this is
And so when I'm honest with myself about that, and I'm honest with other women, that it's okay to feel that way towards other women. It's okay to, see other women, and sometimes you kind of get envious or feel down about yourself. It's okay to do that, but just don't act on it. Don't treat them a certain way. Don't belittle them. Don't try to dim their shine. Don't talk about them. Don't gossip about them to try to diminish them, because you're really not doing it in the first place. You can't take anything away from them that God has already blessed them with. That what's for them is for them, and what's for you is for you.
and
And so,
go ahead.
yeah, and so really what you're doing is, making yourself look bad. You're not making them look bad, and you're not taking anything away from them. You're making yourself look bad. And you're not bringing anything to yourself by trying to take away from them.
Right.
So, once I remind myself of that, and I remind others of that, I usually give myself a pat on the back, and it usually goes a long way. And then just participating, like you said, in empowerment events. And I have a self-care women's circle I just joined, but I just make sure to stay in tune with other women, even if they haven't experienced everything that I have experienced. I mean, we're all different. We all are in different fields. We all look different. We have different things we bring to the table. We talk different. We dress different. I mean, we have different, likes, and we have different ways of exhibiting our likes. So sometimes, what we deal with other professional women is not the same, and that's fine. But just still making sure that you have a safe, positive, healthy space where you are making sure you're around women who you can foster healthy relationships with and talk to them and just bounce things off from the heavy load of the week. You know, being a mom, being a woman, being a wife, all of those things are important. So, especially with the pandemic, there's so many virtual circles at church, just other women's empowerment events that you can get involved in that I recommend at least once bi-weekly that you make some time to do that for yourself.
Right. And I was just going to add, as you were talking, it made me think, you said, basically understand that it is normal to have those feelings. It is human nature to have the feeling come up, right? Like jealousy is a feeling that everyone feels. Envy is a feeling that everyone feels. The part about it that's not normal and is not healthy is acting on it. But when you think about it, it's like our society has normalized women behaving this way. And so when you look at, no shade to these franchises, but when you look at the Real Housewives franchise or Love and Hip Hop franchises, and you see women on TV making millions of dollars for behaving this way, and then you have, the people that are watching it kind of engaging in the same behaviors, it's like we have made it normal, and we are saying that that is not normal. We should not be behaving this way. If you want to watch that for entertainment, that's your business, but you got to have some self-awareness to know, like, hey, that's TV and they're acting. Hopefully they don't really act like that. But when it comes to me and the professional women or the women that I'm going to surround myself with, we are not going to behave like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with you, ladies. And I think you ladies have might have touched on this before, because especially in the workplace, I'm all big on energy, and there really are some times where personalities, for whatever reason, they just don't quite mesh, and that is okay. It's
Right,
okay. We don't have to kumbaya, but we do have to be cordial. So if there
right.
is a woman and our personalities just for whatever reason, it just does not quite mesh well, then that's cool. That's fine. But I'm still, gonna scoot over. There's still a seat at the table for you,
Right.
even though, we're not gonna probably go to happy hour after this. That's okay. And then the other thing that we touched on too is my experience with that resident. I took it and I've never treated anybody like that, because I know how that felt for me. And to this day, that was 20 years ago probably, and it's something enough to where it's still stuck in my mind. And so I made sure that residents behind me, medical students, anybody that I come in contact with, if I can help you and you want the help, it is there for you. It's there for you. I feel like this table is big enough for us all to be here. I learned something from you. You learned something from me. We're both better because of it. And so that's just a philosophy that I have. And like I say, I learned that, and I teach that to my daughter, is that you do not, this world is big enough for all of us. And there's room for all of us. And like I said, our voices are bigger when we put them together.
Right. And I just thought about this when you said it. We all have daughters. And so for our daughters looking at us, we're going to make y'all watch this video. I know Amber's baby is really young and she doesn't understand any of this. That's okay. We're going to start early to make sure that the next generation of women really understand that you can sit with us. And that, it doesn't have to be a competition, and we don't have to be nasty to each other. Like Anika said, we are stronger together. And so we hope that you guys enjoyed this video. We hope that you learned something. Like we said, if someone is being mean to you, understand that the way they are treating you has more to do with them than it has to do with you. Continue to be yourself, continue to shine your light. And if you are being mean to people, please stop. That is not okay. And if you need anything, you can always reach us at booking@clairemmotivators.com. I will tag Amber in the post when I post this video so that you can follow her social media pages as well. And if y'all don't have anything else to add, y'all good?
I will add one more thing. Now, like Anika said, that your trauma, even with women relationships. So a lot of people talk about trauma from childhood, from their childhood, whatever. There is trauma that can be, had from high school and college, and your relationships from trying to reach your professional status and your career status with women. And so let whatever your experience have been, like Anika said, shape you to be the better person, where you don't, like she said, you don't do that to the next woman. You don't do that to the next girl. Reach out to them if you know it's happening to them, and be the shoulder that they need for you to lean on. Be the better example for them, saying, I'm not like that. And this does not reflect every woman that works here in this office or in this field. So I think that's very important. I also think it's important to distinguish just somebody being a mean girl, rolling their eyes at you, making faces when you come around, or not inviting you purposely to lunch and inviting everybody else. That's mean girl type stuff. But there's also a fine line where it goes into bullying.
Right.
And so if there's like a supervisor or if there is anybody else and it's bullying you where you feel like it's definitely affecting your ability to work or it's affecting, just your mental health, you need to talk to somebody in HR about it. Don't think that you can just turn the other cheek and be the bigger person, and you don't have to endure that, and you shouldn't have to. So I will say that as well. There's also a point where you need to speak up about it because it's illegal.
Right.
Right.
Spoken like a true lawyer. That is illegal.
Yeah.
You need to tell
And you
HR.
belong at your job and you're qualified to be at your job just like them. And nothing gives them the right to treat you like that.
Preach. I love it. I absolutely love it. And hopefully you guys learned something from that. And with that, you guys have a great week. If you want to share your experiences in the comments, we'll be happy to see that. I know it's not just us, but we're curious to hear from you guys. What experiences have you had? And what ways do you think that we can come together and support each other as women? Let us know in the comments, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.